Hey everyone, if you know me, then you probably realize I can talk about anybody else, promote anybody else and what they do without a problem. I love to be the advocate for people I believe in. When it comes to talking about me, I am not so comfortable. And that's kind of the challenge I've been given right now, which was to sort of talk about my journey, where I started, why I do what I do, what my calling is because of it, and where I'm going. And I cringe, of course, but the reality is if I truly want to have the biggest impact I can, I know I need to do this. So let me kind of share a little from the beginning as far as who I am and why I do what I do. We won't go back to childbirth or anything, but at least start with the first job I had where I found myself wanting to take on a management role. I was a young single mom, and becoming a manager in the industry that I was in would give me more money, right? I could take better care of my son. That was originally the real reason why I did it. And I enjoy working with people. I love people. And if through being able to take better care of my son, I was able to make somebody else's life a little better, then it was a bonus. Then what I found as time went on, I was actually pretty good at it. People liked me and they were open to following me. So that part was easy. Where the struggle came in was when I was in a role with a company and I was overseeing 12 stores, lots of managers, and the executives kept wanting me to call them the day before their day off and tell them they weren't going to be able to be off. They were going to have to work the next day. I struggled with this, right? Because as a mom, if somebody called me the day before and said I wasn't going to get to spend the day with my family, I don't know how I'd respond to that. So the call would come on a Tuesday and tell me, you need to call your managers, tell them they have to work tomorrow, Wednesday. And I did it. As much as I hated it, I did it. So there was this struggle happening where on my internal side, it completely contradicted what I believed in, which is a balance between what you're doing professionally and being with your family. But I was afraid, and what I was afraid of was losing my job, right? As a single mom, I had to be able to take care of my son. So at the end of the day, when these calls would come in, when things were tough, it felt like I was selling a piece of my soul to be able to keep my job. Well, ultimately, I was on a vacation some years later, and I got an email that asked me if I could come back from that vacation early. So now my boss was in the position I had been in, and I thought, it's one thing for me to have to sell my soul, but I loved my boss so much to put her in that position. That was the breaking point for me. So when I got back from that trip, I quit my job. I didn't have a job. Fortunately, I had gotten myself to a position where I could afford to do that a little bit and have some space. I really needed to figure out what it is I wanted to do and what I was comfortable with doing, where I didn't feel like I had to sacrifice who I was. So ultimately, I ended up getting another job, if you will, in the same industry. Been in luxury sales and leadership for a long time. That's where I served most of my career. But I intentionally didn't apply for a management role, and the reason why is I felt like after I had failed the leaders I had in the previous company, I didn't deserve to lead people. So I took on a full-time sales role. I thought I can sell, that's easy. What I found when I did that, though, was that even though I didn't have a title, people wanted to follow me. I didn't ask them to. I found myself, if things were challenging, championing everybody. So that way, what was best for the people and wasn't necessarily a detriment to the company could happen. That was what I did. So I moved back into a management role because doing that without a title is a little bit more difficult than if you actually have a title and a little bit of more leverage to help people. So that's exactly what I did. I went back into a leadership role. I was able to hire, train, and develop incredible people. And what I found was what was most important to me as a leader. It wasn't really that I want to make more money now to take care of my son. I was doing that. I could do that regardless of what role I was in. But I was doing it because I felt compelled to help others who maybe didn't have the lack of fear or the lack of fear of conflict, whatever, however you want to look at it. But I felt not necessarily an obligation, but a calling to lead. So with that, I thought, okay, why do I lead outside of the strengths that I believe I was given? And that was because I felt when people came to work with me, I took on a responsibility to make sure they could take care of their families, that they would have a great quality of life, and that I helped them grow and develop in their careers. And that really became my driving force. Now, the side outcome of that, kind of the plus bonus, was I realized I was developing a culture that supported exactly what it was that I felt was important to a company, important to the people, and ultimately a customer would want to purchase from, right? Because you have to also believe that the company you make purchases from has good intention. So that culture became incredibly strong. And what we saw happen were sales results, employee retention, employee engagement. The number of people I managed to train and develop to get promoted skyrocketed. It was an incredible time. And this continued for a while. And then I found that whereas we were having great success, that company as a whole was struggling. So they started trying to force down these sort of expectations and changes that they own the company, they have the right to do that. But was I willing to sell my soul again? And I wasn't. So I moved organizations one last time and went to a company that really aligned with the culture I had designed and developed and had had success with. So I brought some of the people with me who had been with the previous company, and we did just that. We excelled, and we really transformed what the workplace has to be and how healthy it can feel. So why am I talking about this? Because the next step came when I thought it's unfair to limit that ability to create that culture, to develop those principles just to one company. There's so many companies out there, and if you look at sort of the surveys, the polls, and the results of how people feel about the workplace, it is getting worse and worse. And rather than saying that's just the way it is, it can change. It's at the human hand, right? Culture isn't a company. It's the compilation of the actions and behaviors of everyone in that company. So if it's not succeeding and results aren't where you want them, stop trying to look at just the marketing or just look at the economy. You really need to look at the culture you have in place and how people believe in what you believe in. And if that's not where it should be, then be humble enough to take a look at it and do something different. So I'm going to be doing these videos. Oh my gosh, I'm going to be doing these videos daily where maybe we'll talk a little deeper about some of the things I mentioned here. So if we've worked together, if we've connected before and there was something that you took away from that was almost like an epiphany, I would love if you would share that in comments. And even if no one watches this and no one comments at the end of the day, I had to do this for me to move beyond that discomfort I have to talk about myself because my journey can serve so many people. So again, if there was something that if we've met, there was an epiphany, put it in the comments. If there's something you want me to talk about moving forward, put it in the comments. I'm completely wide open on this. I have no idea per se what I'm going to talk about every day, but we're going to have a conversation. And if it helps somebody, then it's kind of paying me back too. Thank you guys. Thank you for being on this journey with me. And I hope you feel the love and support that I give people as often as possible. And if you're not, maybe it's time to hitch your wagon onto a new horse. Talk to you soon, guys.